What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Basement Talk. Today we are here at Luxury Bazaar with Roman Sharf. We flew into Philadelphia last night. Unfortunately, Zach couldn't make it. Zach had the squirts. So we're gonna be doing this podcast just us. But we hope you guys enjoy this video. Oh shit, check out my boy.
Yo, it's probably gonna
yeah,
feel
that's
out
what
right
we
now.
do at Luxury Bazaar. That's how they do it. So we hope you guys enjoy this video, and we'll see you soon. Peace. Wow. Damn, dude. All right, cut to the episode. Bro, you're the nicest UFC fighter in the world, dude.
Shout out Basement Talk, man.
I'm gonna bite at least 2 of your ears off.
I make more than $1 million in a day sometimes.
You better
Thank you, Roman, for having us. Let's just get right into it.
Let's jump into it.
I wanna say too, like how this all happened before we get into just all sorts of stuff. But yeah, we posted a clip on Instagram that you reacted to. It was of David Meltzer. We had him on our podcast. He's an entrepreneur, very successful guy, and he was telling us on our podcast how he wore fake watches. And you kind of did a reaction to that. I actually have a note here because Ben Baller also commented. He said, I'm against fake watches, period, but David Meltzer is worth 9 figures, LOL. But do you think that matters, right? Like,
I'm very anti-fake anything, right? Whether, well, obviously watches because it's near and dear to my heart. I feel like anything that fakes, downplays, and degrades the value of something that either someone spent hundreds of years creating a name. When it comes to watches, somebody that spent years upon years in research and development, developing a movement, a model, a design, right? And to be fair, I think fake stuff just shits on that. And if I am somebody, if the excuse is, well, I'm traveling in places, I want to feel safer and so on and so forth, that's not an excuse for one simple reason. 9 out of 10 thieves won't be able to tell whether your watch is fake or not on your wrist, right? So if you walk around some rough neighborhoods and somebody sees a Richard Mille on your wrist, the danger aspect of it doesn't go away. Yeah, you don't care if they steal it, right? But you're still potentially in danger because these people can actually physically hurt you. Whether it's fake or real, it doesn't really matter. That's number one. That's the most common excuse that people use. Oh, well, I travel places and I want to feel safer. Well, if you want to feel safer, don't put on a watch.
Yeah, we saw that video and we were like, dang, you nailed it on the head. It got millions of views, and then you did that reaction, and then it got even more views. It's pretty cool that you did that. But I want to go back a little bit to like your childhood, where you grew up, your family, because you seem like a big family man.
I am a huge family man. I mean, my values in life, I've always said it, it's family, God, country, right? Very old-fashioned, if you will. But I grew up in Soviet Union. And the reason that my values are that strong is because where I grew up just didn't have shit, right? Imagine you living in a country where any little thing is of a deficit. Like literally, you want to go out there and get a loaf of bread, the most basic stuff, the toilet paper to anything else, it's just not readily available. Think trying to buy something during COVID, right? It's just nothing was available, right?
Yeah.
And everything was overly priced. So growing up in Soviet Union, and I didn't leave till I was 13 years old, so I kind of got to experience a lot of things in Soviet Union. Obviously, communism.
How did you end up in Philly?
My father migrated here when I was 13 years old.
weren't you in New York though, right?
I went to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And then my father found a great job in Philadelphia, making $8.65 an hour, but it was closer to his profession. Again, we're going back to 1989.
That's a lot of money, though.
Back then, it was good.
Yeah.
It was good. It was decent money, and it was also a job closer to his profession. He was an engineer by trade. This time, he got hired by a factory that actually made wrappers for like major candy companies like Mars and stuff like that. And he was hired as a maintenance guy to maintain the machines that actually made that stuff, which was close enough to him being a mechanical engineer. In reality, he was just a maintenance guy. And that's how we ended up in Philly. He came out here first. I remember clearly the apartment in Brooklyn was probably the size of this, well, it's actually smaller than this whole room. So it was about 400 square feet. Me, my dad, my stepmom, my sister, and we moved to Philadelphia, and he got a 3-bedroom apartment. Our studio in Brooklyn was $450 a month. For $400 a month in Philadelphia, he got a 3-bedroom apartment. I remember walking in, and one of the places had a walk-in closet, and I was like, whose room is this? And it was actually a walk-in closet. So it was like night and day moving to Philadelphia because cost of living here is so much cheaper. That's how I ended up in Philly.
Well, our show's called Basement Talk. Is that where the basement was?
No, the basement
No?
was actually my house. That's where I started my business. To be fair, I always say I started my business out of my basement. In reality, it really wasn't out of my basement because after I moved out of my bachelor pad, I had a condo. I got married. My son was born. We moved into a townhouse, which was much bigger. But that townhouse didn't have a basement. So technically, that's where that whole thing started. It wasn't until we bought our first big house where I left the corporate world and I was literally sitting in a basement doing this.
Were you always like a sales guy though at heart? Like were you always like had that personality that you do now?
I
like
was
on
always
TV
a class
and stuff?
clown, to be fair, right? I was the class clown, like ever since as long as I can remember. I was the guy cracking joke. I was the guy wanting to talk to everybody. I was the guy wanting to talk too much. You know, that's why the joke is I like the sound of my own voice, and that's actually true. But you know, and so being a class clown sometimes can mean different things. It can also mean being a people's person, wanting to talk to people, wanting to interact with people. And for the most part, people like class clowns. They gravitate towards them, right? And in any sales position, what are you ultimately doing? You're selling yourself. So that actually works.
How hands-on are you now in sales? Every day you're still selling?
Yes.
Because I know you got a great team.
So I try my best. It's very difficult when you start a business from nothing and you're every department. Shipping, receiving, selling, buying, you name it, right? Accounting. And then slowly but surely, as your company grows, you now start to hand off some of those tasks to others, and you end up with upper management, middle management, et cetera, like your normal corporate structure, if you will. But I love watches, and I love the people that are buyers, because in our industry, you become friends with pretty much every person that buys anything from you. I still have people that are calling my cell phone that bought something from me when I was still working out of my basement, right? And I have their numbers, and I pick up the phone and say, "Hey, John," and they're like, "Surprised! Oh my God, Roman, you picked up, and you actually remember who it is." I'm like, "Well, you're in my phone," and I actually remember what they bought, even if it's been 10 years. It's that personal, right? And to get away from sales is very hard because all day, every single day, those inquiries are coming in from previous clients and new clients. Of course, what do? I give them the attention, and then I pass it on to my sales team.
You can talk about that for sure too, Kobe.
Yeah, so right now, so we're brothers. We have a marketing company, and like we're currently doing I'm doing the sales, a lot of it. He's doing the accounting. We're doing the technicalities. We got Christian over here who's doing a lot of the editing. Like we've got a full team, so we know how it is to kind of keep growing.
And he just recently kind of left a sales position, and he's still getting calls after a couple months just spamming. So like
I get calls every day. I was in the car business. Yeah.
When you're in sales, period, especially if you move into like high-end sales, the concept of it becoming so friendly and personal with the individual that you're selling to, it's almost always there. That's why, again, makes you a good salesperson, because people want to buy you, not the product, right? And that's really what it comes down to.
No, it's insane. So I'll send the leads over, but no, it's been crazy. And hiring employees, how did you get like guys like Adrian, Alex, like all these guys that are so good?
So it started with really when I opened up my first office, I needed a secretary, right? And it was all word of mouth, right? And me and my wife were sitting on the beach with our best friends. They're now a married couple. I was friends with the husband for about 30 years, with her about 25 years. That's when they got married. And my wife goes like, "Yeah, do you know of anyone, Roman, needs like a girl on the phone?" Right? She's like, "What do you mean? Like a secretary?" He's like, "Yeah, just somebody to pick up the phone in an office that he's opening." "Well, what about my cousin?" And I'm like, "Well, tell me about your cousin." She's like, "Yeah, she just graduated college." I'm like, "Whoa." I'm like, "That's a little bit overqualified." I'm like, I don't want her to waste her. Like, she just literally, and I know this girl like put herself through college, came here from a different country, lived on her own work, put herself through college like really hard, got her degree. I'm going to put her on the phone as a secretary. She's like, no, you should really, really hire her, you know, because I know her work ethic. I know how smart she is. I'm like, looking for a secretary. Like, I feel bad. She's like, just do me a favor, just interview her. So I hired her. I was paying her $500 a week. This was 18 years ago. Let's just say she makes a whole lot more than $500 a week now. That's Anna. She's my top sales producer, manager, you name it, my very first employee. And guess what? Her salary, believe it or not, is still $500 a week. Hasn't changed in 18 years. But let's just say her commission check makes up for it.
Of course.
What's your thoughts on college too? Because I know you went to Penn State.
Penn State.
I don't remember exactly what you were studying when I was
Electrical
reading,
engineering and
and then,
computer
but you
science.
loved computer science, right?
But it was electrical. I went for electrical engineering, but I ended up loving computer science more and programming, etc.
What's your thoughts on college though these days? Do you think it's needed to be successful?
I think there are some that do and some that don't. I can tell you as an employer, it doesn't make a difference to me when I hire people, like zero difference.
Us as
honestly.
well.
How about this? I got 30 people out there. I don't even know who has a degree, who doesn't. That's how unimportant it is to me. As a business owner, now, if you're talking about technical positions, right? If I was an engineering firm, if I was here doing research and development for microbiology, yes, I would want to have somebody that has a degree in that field, that had some hands-on experience, perhaps even a master's or a PhD if I want to take them to the next level. But when it comes to sales, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to probably majority of positions in the world out there today, unless it's something super technical like accounting or finance, where you're dealing with numbers or you need to know these formulas and these methods, I still feel those could be learned. How about this? I learned how to be an accountant early on. And I'm as far from accounting as you can imagine, but I'm a badass accountant because I had to learn it the hard way because I needed it.
I'm in that right now too.
So I'll give you some tips, right?
Yes.
I hired 3 accountants to come work for me initially. I fired all 3 of them and then I realized you want something done right, do it yourself. I rebuilt my QuickBooks files 5 times, scrapped it, did it again, scrapped it, did it again. Finally found somebody that said glued to my hip for 9 months until I was happy and satisfied that she can do the job and take it to the next level.
It's unbelievable.
College degrees are, it's the only thing you're telling me is you had the discipline to get through 4 more years of school life after high school, right? And again, attorneys, I get it. Surgeons, doctors, I get it, right? In my company, it's unimportant. I think at this point in the world, majority of jobs out there shouldn't require a degree as long as you can complete a task.
You've met some of like the most high-end celebrities. I saw you just had lunch with Trump. Like, you've met the craziest people in the world. Has there ever been someone that you've met that's been way different than what you've perceived them to be on camera?
To be fair, I've met some people of high status, let's call them, whether they're celebrities or ultra rich and so on and so forth. For those that made it where they are, for the most time, I found them to be themselves. Even actors, like, it's funny.
That's what I was going to ask. Is there anyone that's been different?
Even actors, right? But for the most part, no. It's how I imagine it. If it's an actor, it's how I saw them on the screen and how I perceived them as a person. For the most part, how they came out. Businessmen, Donald Trump. Donald Trump was zero surprise. What I expected, exactly what I got, and I sat there with him for 2 hours, and I got exactly what I expected. Just a real human. Not
And
a
your
politician.
son made those shoes.
No, he didn't. No,
He didn't make those
No,
shoes.
my son is in the shoe business.
Yeah. Your son's business is amazing, by the way.
Thank you. This is his business. I always rock his logo everywhere.
Awesome.
And he didn't make those shoes, but for about 20 minutes during our lunch, 15, 20 minutes, it was the president, myself, and my son next to me, and there were 4 more guys at the table. And he found out he was in the sneaker business. For 15 minutes, he asked my son on his opinion on his sneakers. He is, for one, a 8-year-old man who's lived a life, a businessman, an ex-president of the United States, asking my 20-year-old son for advice. Like, I was just like, I was like, am I in the matrix? What is going on here? Even Marcus was taken back. And my son doesn't get taken back very easily. He is quick. And he was just like, after we left, he was like, I can't believe he just like sat there and asked me for my advice. Like, who the fuck am I?
Was he wearing sneakers that day?
Donald Trump?
Yeah.
No, he was wearing golf shoes because he just finished playing 18 holes of golf.
I love that he golfs. Do you golf?
I tried that once, actually. We did it. So there was a charity event that we did that benefited my charity. My buddy Joe, he did it. And I said, I actually watch golf. I have a lot of friends and clients that are professional golf players too, and I like to watch it. And it looks pretty easy when you watch on TV until you try to swing the stupid club. I had muscles hurt I didn't even know I had. Like,
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, it's a real sport. Anybody that says it's not, because my back was hurting, my elbows, like, I found some funky muscles in my arms I didn't know existed. It is not an easy sport. And it's a sport that can make you cry, that I realized too.
Do you play any sports these days though? Any other sports, or how are you staying
I
fit?
masturbate. Does that count? No.
Oh shit.
You're in good shape.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I
That
like
can count, right?
once in a blue moon, me and my friends get together, we'll play a little basketball. But I was never really good at sports, to be honest. Like I was not the type. Like I was the sucky kid on the bench always. Like whether it was soccer back in Soviet Union because that's all we had, baseball, same thing. I was just like, I guess you got to let them bat kind of thing. I was never really that good at sports. I was always just okay.
What about, so I want to go back a little bit again to like COVID and watches, the crazy uprise, not being able to get a watch from Rolex. Talk about how Rolex was putting people on the list.
I actually did an entire video about the Rolex wait list. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing. There's no official list from Rolex. There's no official.
Dang, I thought I was on there.
Yeah, right.
They make you fill out a form, but there's
no list. I actually just finished filming a video. I filmed the first video, which gave you data, right? Because I'm a very big numbers guy. So we pulled some data, actual data. We didn't just pull it out of our asses. We pulled some data in regards to average wait times for a specific model. Also, in that graph, literally, we put what the markup over MSRP is and what the average wait time is, right? Yesterday, I just actually finished filming video 2. I don't know when they're putting it out, probably today or tomorrow, that actually tells you how to beat the Rolex waitlist. And when I say Rolex waitlist, put that in quotations, it doesn't really exist, right? But there is a way to beat it. So what I did essentially between the two videos, I gave you the data, both financials, and the second video I gave you geographical area where you have a bigger chance of getting something faster. And I also gave you numbers over MSRP or what that looks like on the secondary. Plus I gave money spent, like if you want to build a history with UAD, to get this watch on an average, you're going to spend this much. And this came from data from real clients that went out there, spent money, bought the stuff, and they got it in this much time. So now if you have a half a brain, you're able to take 2 of those videos, put the 2 together and realize, okay, do I go to the secondary and buy this? Or do I wait or spend this much in order to get this? Well, what I bought may be worth nothing. It's just, I leave it into interpretation because you would think, why the hell would I want to put out a video how to beat a Rolex waitlist if I'm the one selling Rolexes and it's 30% of my business, right? Well, there was obviously a catch, and I said it in the video. I said, guys, I know, but there is a catch. Wait till the end.
What happens when like you walk into a Rolex store? Have you done that before?
Yeah, I just get recognized. So
what do they do?
They just, oh, Roman, nice to meet you. Can I take a picture? I swear to God, I forget where I was. It was me and my wife. We were somewhere on vacation. I don't remember what it was. And it was like a random place where I figured, let me go into a Rolex boutique. Maybe there's something. The craze was just starting, right? I'm thinking maybe I'll go in there, grab something at list that I can resell. Why not? I'm walking, and the store was across the street. I'm about here. I start walking. As I'm crossing the street, there's a guy that walks out of that Rolex store. And the next thing he goes, oh my God, Roman Sharf, I love your videos. I'm like, well, there goes that fucking idea, right? So I do work with a lot of ADs. It's no secret, right? Who I work with obviously is the secret, but it's been going on since the day I started this 20-some years ago. You call an AD, you give him a little profit, he'll wholesale you anything you want. We're going back to that. That was gone for the last 3-4 years. We're going back to that because as the market drops, remember, COVID saved a ton of ADs because most of them were on their way out essentially because that game was no longer successful. You had the manufacturers are squeezing them from one end, going boutique only, trying to cut as many doors as possible, direct to consumer. And then the gray market and the internet is squeezing them from the other end. They were really suffering. Then COVID put them back up to where they used to be. And then when I started, AD was king. They controlled the manufacturers even, certain ADs.
Do you see it kind of coming back to normal though?
Yeah,
right now?
It's already has come back to normal. It already has come back to normal. The only downside now is that if before ADs could supplement income by wholesaling to guys like us, right now they're still being squeezed by the manufacturers because at this point, a lot of the manufacturers have set up so many of their own points of sale where they're selling directly to consumer, to include the internet, that what do they need the middleman for?
How much money, too, do you think someone should have before buying a Rolex?
Well, give me a dollar amount because Rolex is very vague.
Submariner.
So let's call it 10 grand.
Okay.
Right? So a lot of people be like, well, before you spend $10,000 on a watch, you should have 100 grand in your savings account. You should have a car. You should have maybe a piece of real estate and so on and so forth. And I agree with that. But it's situational. What a lot of people don't take into consideration is what that $10,000 Rolex on your wrist can get you in terms of walking into certain doors, in terms of making a certain impression on an individual. There's other values to wearing an expensive watch or an expensive pair of shoes or a nice suit. Okay, I know guys that went into business meetings that were broke as all hell, asking investors for big money, and with their last $5,000 bought a Brioni suit. You would think it's a stupid fucking move, but guess what? When they walked in there with a pair of crocodile shoes on, a beautiful suit, an attaché, and a Rolex they borrowed from their next door neighbor, they made an impression that later got them a deal that got them to a point where they could buy 10 of those Rolexes, right? It's very situational. But a rule of thumb, we're going to stick with the first thing that I told you. Don't buy expensive things with your last money, right? There's opportunity there to take $10,000, invest into so many things so that it becomes $100,000 at a later time. If you're talking strictly from a financial perspective, to put 1 to 2% of your net worth into something expensive that you don't need makes sense. I don't know if you guys noticed from my social media, I don't own any Ferraris. I don't own any Lambos. I can afford one. Do you know why I don't own a Ferrari? Because number one, I always say this: if you're gonna go out there and buy a Ferrari, you should be able to comfortably write a check for it, and for it not to impact your savings tremendously, right? I can do that, but I also look at it differently. It's a college education. I have 3 children, right? So it's about priorities, right? And you figure out what your priorities in life are at that very moment. And if it's something that you feel that's going to help you progress by impressing someone, nothing wrong with that. Problem is 9 out of 10 times people buy it not to impress someone that's going to bring them back value on a business perspective. It's all about flex.
Yeah, I bought my Rolex just to get girls, and I got none, so I don't really know.
That's what guys. What's the memes? They're all over the internet. The reality versus expectations, right? You think you're going to get all these girls, and it's a bunch of dudes going.
Yeah. It's more.
It's a bunch of dudes going. Yeah.
No, but I actually do agree. Like, at least my reason for it, being young and starting a business, you need to have some sort of respect you get from people when you walk into meetings and all that. So that's kind of why I bought mine, aside from the chicks.
I also think that that's also becoming, some of the younger culture nowadays, or younger corporate culture, I think it's actually frowned upon instead. I remember I was still in corporate when I started my business, and I was doing it part-time, and I worked at Deutsche Bank, it's a big corporate office in the middle of New York. And I remember walking in one day, and I had on an Audemars, and my boss looked at me like, shit, he's wearing a $20,000 watch. Am I fucking paying this guy too much? It's the same concept before. Exactly. It used to be like driving a specific car. Again, situational. It depends on where you are. If you're working for someone, unfortunately, human nature, whoever is up above you is going to frown upon you driving in a brand new Lambo. If you're a guy that's making half of what I'm making and I'm your boss, what's this kid doing driving a Lambo? Either he's a rich kid and his parents bought it for him and he's flexing, or I'm paying him too much, right?
How often do you get people calling in, like, they're trying to, do you guys, I always wondered this, do you guys, finance watches or no?
No, so I'm not.
Because I feel like I've heard stories of people trying to, do payments or rent a Rolex for, a weekend or something.
So we did we looked into 2 business models, one being renting and the other one being leasing, like a lease to buy type of deal, right? It's very hard to get financial institutions behind that. Renting is very hard to get insurance companies, and it becomes just not practical. It would be too expensive, right? For the amount of money it would cost me to insure this, or the process somebody would have to go through to rent this Rolex, and God forbid something happens to it, it becomes not worth it for you to pay me X to have it for a day, right? When it came to leasing, again, another thing, the watch coming back from a lease. When it comes to a car, it's controlled, more or less. When it comes to a watch, it's not, because if I'm renting out or I'm leasing you a uber complicated Patek that can take a year to fix and tens of thousands of dollars, it becomes not too much risk, and no financial institution would get behind it. So the only option was to put your own money behind it. But to invest $100 million into something to allow people to lease whatever watch they want, the return on investment wasn't worth it, because that same $100 million in my business would go much further and faster.
How often, too, do you guys get calls and it's someone that goes, I want a Batman Oyster or a specific watch, and then you guys kind of talk to them about a different watch and they switch over? Does that happen often?
So
maybe if you have something in stock, too, do your sales guys?
So upselling or cross-selling, it is definitely a technique, but in our industry specifically, it's kind of like the car industry. Somebody came in to get an Audi R8, you're not selling a BMW 7 Series. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not happening.
Yeah.
But for us, my rule of thumb for my salespeople is that you hear out what the client wants. And if there's an opportunity and the client asks, what are some of my other options in that price range, that's when you present it. There are situations where we would cross-sell, but not because we want to sell something we have in stock, but because the one piece that the person is asking about, it's just very difficult to get, or the price isn't right, or there's maybe better value in something else that's comparable, right? Because there are situations where, well, look, we just can't get that watch. And we know that we're not the only ones that can't get it because it may be something that's super rare or super limited, right? Then we can offer something comparable. All while saying your other option is to wait and see if we can come across one and find one.
What would you say too is like the best investment watch to get right now? A Rolex.
There's no such thing. I've always, 20 some years, I've been saying watches are not an investment. It's becoming a very, very hard point to argue, considering that you have all these publications screaming watch indexes, Rolex outperforming the S&P and blah, 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 blah. Watches are an investment for me. You know why? Because I'm in this industry. I know I can buy it right, and I can also have the ability to sell it at a right price. That's why it's an investment for me. For somebody like yourself, and this is what people don't see, the cost of in and out. Let's take the dumbest example. Take real estate. Your average cost in and out in real estate is going to be your fee to the broker, anywhere from 3 to 6%. Let's call it 6% at the most, and transfer tax, right? Like where I'm at, it's 1% to the seller, 1% to the buyer. So if I just bought a property for $100,000 and I flipped it over for $130,000, right? And it's costing me roughly $7,000 plus about $8,000 in and out costs, I still made 22% of my money. You following the math here? Mm-hmm. Were you guys good in school?
All right. I was not really.
Okay, so you can rewind the tape later and check my math.
Watch it back.
But if you just bought a $100,000 watch, now mind you, if I sold you that $100,000 watch, companies like ours, we work at a minimum 10% margin. Last year we averaged out to 14% margin, right? So I just made 14% on you by selling you that watch. That's $14,000. You're gonna bring that watch back to me, I don't know, 6 months from now, right? How much am I going to want to buy it back for? I'm going to sell you something else, make money on it, and I'm going to try to take it back at that same $84,000 or $86,000 that I paid for it, right?
Even if it's used?
Huh?
Even if it's used?
If it's used, I'll take it for less if I sold it to you originally new, right?
Okay.
Now, let's say even if the market goes up and the market doesn't jump up double overnight, it takes time. Let's say it took 5 years for that watch to go up 20%, which is normal. All of a sudden, that 20% that you made over 5 years disappears because, I'll pay you $100 for it, which means you get your money back.
How many calls, though, do you get of like people like, Roman, what should I get that's going to make me money in fucking 7 years?
You know how many DMs I get about what's
saying.
A good investment, what's a good watch, and I tell everybody the same thing, it's not an investment. But I also say it's something you can buy wisely. And you look at history, right? Historically, Rolex retains its value best. Patek Philippe retains its value best. And the funny part is people that ask that question, all I have to do is go on the internet. I started this business when the internet started. I didn't have that option. I didn't have YouTube. I didn't have any of that stuff. You can go and look at historical prices of watches going back God knows how long. Auction houses, eBay, Chrono 24, all those places where they'll show you historical value, actual sold items. And you can kind of gauge from there. Plus, when you're buying something, when you're buying a Rolex, you're buying something that is produced to the tune of 1,050,000 watches a year. People overlook vintage stuff all the time.
Is that accurate, Chrono 24? It's pretty good, right?
If you look at sold items, actually the ones that are recorded. What you see online,
But what about that scan thing? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I saw that. Again,
it's just what's sold.
Exactly. You got to look at sold items, stuff that you know sold. Auction house results, eBay sold results, Chrono 24 sold results. And again, it's one of those things where that mean that that's what's going to be in the future. One of the things that people fail to realize, this is not the stock market. And even stock market is susceptible to what I'm about to say. There's this thing in the watch industry called trends. What's popular? A celebrity putting on a particular watch that all of a sudden was dog shit. You could not give away a Rolex and a strap when I started in this business. Could not give it away. The K-pop star, I forget his name, puts on a Pikachu, and all of a sudden that watch doubles in price overnight, right? That used to be dog shit because if you did that research 5 years prior to that,
I actually love that.
Oh my
watch.
God, this is dog shit. They always like discount and this, that, and the other. You would never buy that watch. But can you anticipate somebody putting on a watch who is of a status where the whole world goes crazy? It's just there are too many variables to be able to do it. But what you can do is you can draw a nice simple graph over time. you can't lose with Rolex. You can't lose with Patek. And you would say, well, probably Patek Nautilus, right? When I started, nobody, you know how much I sold 5711s for?
How much?
Under $10,000.
Wow.
Right? Richard Milles, I couldn't fucking give away. Okay, I used to buy him back at 30 cents on a dollar. I had Richard Mille closeouts. How about that? You know what that is? It's when you buy one directly from the manufacturer at a higher than usual discount. I bought Richard Milles as cheap as 25 cents on a dollar, brand new. I wish I knew that back then, right?
Yeah.
And I would have kept them. So
Wow.
Frank Mueller at the time was the hottest fucking brand on the market. Frank Mueller was the Richard Mille back then. You can't give away a fucking Frank Mueller today, can you? So again, it's trends is this. But what stands true, Rolex is always going to be king. Patek is always going to be the Rolls Royce of all watches. And vintage. People are buying these manufactured collectibles. I'll give you one clear example. Patek 5711 Rose Nautilus on a bracelet. Market price around $160,000 to $180,000 today, about double its retail value. How many of those do you think they made? Thousands upon thousands, I can tell you that. Anybody that tells you exactly, they're lying because Patek doesn't give out that information. A Rolex 3700 Nautilus, yellow gold on a bracelet, the original one from 1976, designed by Genta. There was a total of 3,000 of them made. Trades around the same price. 3,000 do not exist. Half of them were fucking melted for gold because what people did back then. I mean, the watch was $2,000. So you look at things and you say, manufactured collectibles versus a real proven collectible. It's a numbers game. Buy something that there's less of out there, and you can never go wrong. People say, well, can you compare it to something? I say, sure. I'm a card collector, right? People collect baseball cards. I collect Formula One cards. What do I collect? One of ones, one out of fives. It's the same concept. The less of something is out there, the more it has a chance of going up in value, or it still may not.
So guys, what Roman just said is buy high, sell low. Okay? No.
He's a smart one, right? He's a smart brother?
He is smart.
No, but I was going to ask you, just speaking on watches, is what is the most expensive watch you ever sold? And could you tell us who bought that?
I couldn't tell you who, but I can tell you I sold a crystal Richard Mille turban to the tune of $4 million. I've sold quite a few Sky Moon tourbillons. Most expensive one was at $3 million, 3.2 actually to be exact. I've also sold a Grandmaster chime for less money than one just fetched in an auction, but that market was a little bit different. So we did sell quite a few single expensive watches. We just delivered a watch for $1.5 million 2 days ago. But
You shut down the shop
piece.
for a week after
What's
that?
that?
Or you shut it down for a week, or you just keep
Nah,
going?
they just keep
Nothing
going.
new now.
You know, early on in my career, being a class clown and a people's person, I befriended a couple of dealers that were much better off than me, and they dealt in these $500,000+ watches, and I probably sold a half a dozen of those for them. I learned one very valuable lesson. You know, I'd sell a $500,000 watch, make 50 grand. Oh my God, that's great. It's only 10%, right? And so it was then that I learned to look at margins and percentages rather than dollar amounts. And I also learned that in order to sell big shit, you have to have big shit. So you have to have the balls to go out there and actually buy the stuff in order to make big hits.
How nervous were you buying something big at the first time you did it?
Yeah.
That's probably wild.
You know, it's funny. In this industry, we're so desensitized to money. Like I have $250,000 on my wrist. I don't look at it that way. I haven't looked at it like that way for years. And as much as I try to be conscious of the fact that oftentimes I wear a house around my wrist or somebody's, 5-year salary, you still tend to get desensitized, much like you. If you were in the car business and you were selling an
I
expensive...
used to be obsessed with cars. Now in the showroom every single day, I just became numb with them. I didn't even want to see them.
And you become numb to the fact that the car that you're selling is a 6-figure car.
Exactly.
Same thing happens in watches. So if you're going to be nervous doing something in this business, don't be in this business. Any business, really. Anything where you're trading stuff. I don't care if you're trading cars, Pokemon cards, or watches. If you're gonna be a nervous buyer, you're gonna lose, because the money in this industry, or in any industry in this nature, is in the buy.
Hey guys, yes, I'm on a private jet, and none of this would be possible without our sponsor, Zill Media. If you need any social media or any content done, or even start a podcast like ours, they are the best in the business. Go to zillmedia.com and mention Basement Talk for a discount on their services. Now let's get back to the episode.
Let's get off this fake jet. Go get back to the episode.
What I fell in love with your channel specifically, and I want to talk about how you got into social media and YouTube, but when we were at the dealership, there's really no YouTube channel out there that's been doing it as long as you, where you're getting like real live negotiations, not something fake. So that's what I love is
that's dying now because everybody and their mother's doing it, whether it's fake or real. So that's like
I wanted to get into that too, but you've been doing it for so long, and I've been watching you before I bought my first Rolex. I was watching your content, but what I love so much is I would go to work the next day and I'd be watching you or like all the guys negotiating at trade shows and negotiating, which you don't get that real negotiation. Now I feel like people are doing the fast flip stuff, but that's what I fell in love with your content and what you were doing.
So when our business was strictly consumer facing in the very beginning, the internet, e-commerce was born on eBay and went off to having your own website and so on and so forth. Later, social media was added at a much later time. And we were always retail facing. At some point, I wanted to grow the business and I decided to go the wholesale route. I attended my first trade show. And in retrospect, sometimes I wish I didn't. Sometimes I'm glad I did. It was the wholesale side. Again, wholesale doesn't mean I'm selling 50 Rolexes at a time. It simply means B2B in that industry. It could be one at a time. It could be 50 at a time. And it was that wholesale side of the business that propelled this company to become a $100 million company. But then we ended up being about 90% wholesale and about 10% retail, just because we were one of the first. We had the name, we had the website, everybody knew luxurybazaar.com. So those sales really came naturally via Anna, for the most part, and Adrian when he joined. And then I woke up one day and I realized that I have $28 million in receivables. That in the last 5 years, I wrote off $2.2 million of bad debt expense. It's like people going bad, right? And it happens in every industry, bankruptcy, whatever. I also realized that I owed people about $20 million. Now, my balance sheet looked great, but wholesale business created dead inventory. That's sad because I used to buy stuff in bulk, like these closeouts and stuff. Believe it or not, Richard Mills said too at one point. I also had Audemars Piguet closeouts. Like I would get a Royal Oaks, 150 at a time. That happened, yes.
Oh my god!
Did you get hand one over?
I'll show you some fucking pictures.
Yeah,
I have a tray of like 20 RM11s on there, but whatever. So I realized that something's got to change because also what I'm not doing with a wholesale business is not building a product. I'm getting older. At some point, I'm going to want to exit, so I got to build a product. I said I'm going to switch back to retail. We're going to do it slowly over 2.5 years, gradually flip back over, put emphasis on marketing. And I said, if we're going to the market, I hired a new CMO. And I said, my goal is for this to be not what everybody else does. I'm not doing pay-per-click. I'm not doing Google ads. I'm not doing Facebook ads. I'm not doing the regular stuff. It doesn't pay. I want to do brand name recognition. I said, okay, great. If you want to do brand name recognition, here's the camera, start talking. As I said earlier, I like the sound of my own voice. I have an narcissistic personality. I started talking. I said, hello, everyone, and welcome to the first edition of What's on My Desk, and that's how my YouTube channel started. The talking head brought rapport, but considering the space that we're in, it's very niche to only those that like watches, and that space is this big. If I did the same thing then, but I was giving makeup tips or video gaming or any of the bigger spaces by nature, my YouTube channel would have 5 million subscribers by now. But it was a very niche space. So when it came time, about a year later, or a year and a half later, after 100 of those episodes and then Q&A episodes and stuff like that, a couple of vlogs, which were just my personal vlogs, Avi came to me and he goes, what if we pulled back the curtain on our business, showed everybody what we do here on a daily basis? It'd be so fucking interesting. I bet you even the networks would want to pick this up and blah, 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 blah. We're going to literally show them how we're buying, how much we're paying, what we're doing, how we're selling, and how much money we're making. My response was, fuck no. You crazy? I'm not showing everybody what I do here on a daily basis. He kept bugging me. I said no. About 9 months go by. Anthony, the timepiece gentleman, does a day in the life of a watch dealer. Avi runs into my fucking office screaming, I told you we should have did this shit way before. Now we're not going to be first and this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. I don't give a fuck. Monday morning, cameras are starting to follow you. I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. We're not doing it. I come into the office Monday morning, there's a fucking camera in my face. Right? And it's literally me and Adrian are sitting in my office talking about some deal with some funky pens on the table or whatever it was that I just bought, and Adrian's making fun of me. And it's how Gray Market was born. And again, now it's gotten stale. Why? It's like any other business. When you have too many hands in the same jar, content gets stale, views tend to go down because there's only, listen, we ran Gray Market for 3 years. You know, it's getting stale, so now we're looking to next big thing.
The good thing though is you guys' long form content is good because now these 30-second, 60-second videos are all kind of what's taken over social media.
Exactly. Same with YouTube. You know, shorts is where it's at. They want shorts, right? You have long form content that gets. Look, a good marketer is, you know, if you get 20% of your follower counts for views, you did okay, and we're getting that. But I'm not used to that. I'm used to getting more than my follower count. That's how it was in the very beginning. I had not even 100,000 subscribers, and our videos were getting 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 views. Now we have almost 500,000 subscribers, and we're getting about 100,000 views because YouTube is not pushing it. YouTube is still putting in short form content because they want to compete with TikTok and Instagram, and they want people to spend money on YouTube doing this, just like they do everywhere else. It's
also because everyone's attention span is just destroyed. I mean, I'm scrolling through like 30 videos in 60 seconds. Probably.
But that's another thing. It's the people themselves. They're unfortunately, social media, you know, grooms you to act a certain way, right? And short form content is a lot easier to digest. I think it's the scariest fucking thing in the world. My children do not use social media.
You could also get cloned with AI these days.
Yeah, there you go.
You don't even need to talk anymore.
You don't even need to talk anymore. You're right. You're right. But I was at a friend's party. It was, you know, a bunch of families came over, and there were some kids there. And it was a pool party. I come inside to go use the restroom, and I saw somebody's son sitting on an iPad doing this, right? And I looked over, it's probably TikTok, whatever.
How old is the kid?
The kid was 9 or 8, right? He's sitting there doing this. Oh, whatever. Just because I don't let my kids do it, I don't judge others. If the parents feel like that they can do it, it's fine. I go to the bathroom, I go back outside. I was drinking, but you got to figure what's an average time to go to the bathroom if you're drinking even. Maybe I was back 3 hours later, right? Take another piss. So the kid's still doing this. That's fucking scary. That's dangerous.
And yeah, you should. I mean, yeah, the stuff at least my algorithm, it's not the best. So
yeah.
I don't know what they're feeding me, but yeah, it's not good.
What do we like look forward to for the show?
So right now, there's been a lot of talk about how to revamp, how to do a lot of things, and I think what I'm going to start doing is maybe utilizing some of the connections that I have within the watch world, within the world of celebrities, within the world of do something that others cannot do. Because we did that at first. Even though Anthony's day in the life was sort of first, his day in the life was not as exciting as ours because it was just him. We're here, it's an entire company, and we were moving more product, more exciting product. But at the end of the day, everybody's been there, done that already. So I got to go back to doing something that others cannot do, and others don't have access to, certain people have access to.
What about the IRL stuff, the streaming, the live streaming? Do you like that stuff? Because you see people doing that now.
I do. I have done live streaming. The problem is, to me, and this is no offense to any live streamer out there, this is just how I personally feel about it, is it's like e-begging. It's super chats, it's donations, it's this. I'm not in that business, right? I'm not in the media business. I use media as a form of marketing to bring me business, right? And have I done live shows before? Yeah. Do I love doing them? Yes. But I do them very seldomly just to give my viewers an opportunity to ask certain questions. I do it on Instagram when I do unboxing, but that works because it's a natural thing, right? I get a bunch of stuff in, and you know, instead of sitting here and getting cameras ready, recording this stuff, editing, why just
do it live?
Do it live, right? I can unbox and talk about watches on the fly. So in that sense, and that's more short form. That's 10, 15 minutes maybe. The YouTube stuff, it's great. And listen, when I get the super chats, I'm happy because whatever revenue we make off of YouTube goes back to my media team as a bonus at the end of the year. But it's not, I also feel like you ignore so many people. Like you go on these live things on YouTube.
They're just coming so fast.
Listen, I see it going brrr, and then I have somebody on the side helping me going, okay, I'll throw this question up on the screen or that question. I almost want to answer every single question, but it's not possible.
It's tough.
Yeah. I know that social media too obviously helped grow your business tremendously, but is there any regret doing it and putting yourself out there? Because
I have very thick skin. Has there been some nasty shit said to me? You know, my buddy Nico, you know what he told me when we started the whole YouTube thing? He's like, Roman, I'm going to give you one advice. Only one. I said, what's that? Don't read the comments. And some of the shit gets to me, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes some of this stuff
we see it too. It's brutal.
People get personal, but listen, at the end of the day, these are keyboard warriors, right?
We get shit on every day.
What about though? Has anyone personal to you though commented something?
Personal to me?
Yeah, like someone that knows you.
I mean, I'm sure, but nothing bad per se.
Because that's when it.
I haven't really had any drama with anybody
Okay.
because this is what sells. You know, my boy Max tracks. He's the king of drama when it comes to social media, right? Him and Nico, if you can call it that, boxing match, right? A bunch of out of shape fucking dudes swinging their arms, right? But it's I don't get into that stuff because it was the toughest thing for me to do what we did on social media is to listen. We always come across as professionals. We're a big company. We've been around for a long time, and consumers are not buying inexpensive products. They're buying expensive things. So you can't have like you have to be professional at some point. But at the same token, we are ourselves. You know, we're not trying to. We found a happy medium between being professional, providing the professional service, but yet not wearing white gloves and suits.
And the security in here too for like the shipping of boxes. I saw an incident on the YouTube channel. Like that stuff is nuts. You guys have to film every unbox. Or how does that process
There's
work?
a camera that covers every square inch of this office. Even as we sit here, you are on CCTV. And it's right behind you, actually.
Yeah.
There's another camera over there and one over there.
Yeah.
So I have close to 100 cameras covering the place that is recording 24/7. I have 3 state-of-the-art security systems here, 3 different ones, right? So if you wanted to come in here, it'd literally be mission fucking impossible, even in the middle of the night. Every exit, every door, every window, everything is covered. I spend a lot of money on security. Not to mention we have a full-blown certified vault downstairs like you do in a bank. So if somebody wants to come here in the middle of the night and pull a Mission Impossible and steal my stuff, thank you, I have insurance for that. But the place also prevents people from coming in guns blazing. And we have those same security protocols when it comes to movement of product around the office, whether it's moving internally among salespeople, inventory photo, or it's coming outside of this office.
What about employees, though? Have they ever tried doing anything sketchy?
No, I have a lot of guns. Yeah, so a couple didn't make it out. No, I'm kidding. No, you. And here's the thing. No, he just got that joke. My thing is this:
Yeah, Kobe's lying.
if I ever have to think about whether or not I can trust somebody in that respect, they would not work here. Everybody that's here proves themselves to be trusted. And again, if I take this Richard Mille, I took this watch from me 3 days ago, right? Well, my head of inventory, head of logistics, she knows where that watch went. It gets scanned out. Everything, well, this doesn't have a tag on it because I'm wearing it, but everything has a tag on it. It gets scanned in and out, and you where it goes. Whether it goes as close as upstairs to the sales department or as far as our Hong Kong office, we know where everything moves.
How often too do you guys get fake watches shipped in that look so real? You guys would just never know.
Not very
David
often.
Meltzer watch.
Not very often, because for those that want to try to do it maliciously, they're not going to try guys like us. They know it's just a waste of time. Majority of the time, something that comes in that's fake, the people that sent it and didn't know that it was fake. They not doing it maliciously, and we have to be the bearer of bad news to say, sorry, the watch you sent. We just had a Panda, new style Panda Rolex that came in.
I saw that you guys were.
It was fucking good. Let me tell you something. Look, I can tell a fake watch from across the room, but that was good, like very good. It's scary good, right? But there's so many telltale signs. It can never be perfect, right? And it will never get past a professional. But the person that sent that in, he was insisting that it's real, and he wasn't trying to get one over on us. He was genuinely insisting that it was real because he was under full-blown impression that where he bought it, how he got it, and this, that, and the other, to a point where you also have to understand wherever he got it from doesn't mean that the person who got it did it maliciously either. He could have been fooled just the same. It could have been 3-4 hands changed places before somebody said USOL.
I have a buyer for you. His name's David Meltzer.
Oh, yeah. David, listen, I don't have anything against David. If you notice the way I video,
of course.
It's about the concept of having a ton of fake watches, especially when obviously you're into watches if you're buying them, right?
Yeah.
So if you're into watches and you can afford it, your net worth is in the billions, then fucking spend some money. You know what I mean? Like,
You're spending more time trying to find that too, I bet. Like, I wonder how much time he took to find a fake version of.
I mean, there's websites everywhere that you can order them from.
He told me to. I don't know if it was on or off, but he got the same one as me. He's like, yeah, I got the fake one of that. I'm like, what? Like, dude, why?
You would think he was bullshitting you in the beginning, right?
Yeah, we were like, wait, what?
No,
he said he made like $1 million in a day,
Yeah,
and then he
but-
looked at him and he's like, I have that same watch, but it's fake. We're like,
all
wait,
in the same sentence.
yeah,
Love
like
it.
pretty much like that quick. How did you get that F1 car in here?
So
That's insane.
That's a switch up.
And the tire, I know it's a switch up, but the tires are used. Did you
So
drive
that's a
it?
real shell from a 2021 model Formula One car. It obviously doesn't have the engine and the transmission in it. It's just a shell with the chassis and the actual real wheels. And it was painted by an artist named Gisbar, who is a French guy, lives in Portugal. I actually saw him a few weeks back when I was in Portugal. And he painted it as a tribute to Ayrton Senna, one of the greatest drivers that ever lived. No longer with us, unfortunately. So you have the livery of the teams that he raced for on one side and Papa on the other, the tribute to him. I was bidding on a different car. Who's the people, the crypto people went out of business? FTX?
Oh, yeah.
So FTX did a collab with Mad Dog to paint a Formula One car. And it was, as they were launching the platform or something, I forget the exact details, they were selling that car along with and you got also the NFTs for it, right? This was NFTs were still a thing. And I was at the time, and you have to buy in crypto. So the way they did it is, if you wanted to buy it, you have to sign up for FTX, and FTX is just a Coinbase, I guess. You have to sign up for FTX and deposit crypto in there, and then be able to bid, right? So, and the bidding was in Ethereum, and at the time Ethereum was 4,000. So I'm like, all right, I set a budget. I said I'm willing to spend 200, most likely maybe 250, right? The car ended up going for, I bid it up to 200, but it was bidding so fast that it went from 200 to 300 like almost instantly. And I'm just like, okay, fuck it, I'm not buying it. In retrospect, I'm glad I didn't with everything that happened with FTX, right? And that was it. Later on, car comes on from F1 Authentics. A company called Memento is what runs it with Formula One. And they put this car up. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I'm sitting there and I'm bidding and I'm bidding and I'm bidding. And then, you know how you place a bid and it extends a little bit and you don't know whether you want or not or whether it's going to extend right now. Finally, hammers, I end up buying the car at the budget that I wanted to spend. It's coming from England. So the shipping and it cost me probably another 25%. But
How much was it, if you don't mind me
so
asking?
it ended up being all in with delivery and installation about $250. It ended up costing.
Wow.
Right? It comes in one of those trailer cars, like they deliver you fancy cars and this, that, and the other. They pulled this fucking thing out. They took the nose off because it wouldn't fit into the trailer. Because remember, the Formula One car is 19 feet long and 6 feet wide, right? They pull this thing out of the trailer, it's missing the nose because the nose is another good 3 feet, 4 feet, right? They put the nose back on. It's outside, in the back door, which is back there. They parked it in the back parking lot. I'm like, how the fuck am I getting this thing in?
Yeah.
Mind you, it's 6 feet wide, 19 feet long.
Let's just put it through
so
the roof.
I called contractor that I work with that does a lot of stuff around the office. They came in. They literally had to dismantle the entire car, bring it in piece by piece, put it back together. They put it up on the mezzanine. And my idea is I wanted it. When you walk to my mezzanine, you notice it was like a round mezzanine. There's walls all around. Well, that one wall where it's at now is 20 feet by actually exactly 6 feet. And my idea was to do this with the car. I wanted it like sideways, just sitting on. I'm like, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna hang it right here. My business partner comes out. He's like, what the fuck are we gonna do with this? I'm like, we're gonna hang it right on this wall. You know what he told me? He's like, great. Go ahead and hang the car. I'm gonna hang you right next to it. So long story short, my contract comes in. I tell him what I want to do, and because the mezzanine overhangs a little bit, he's like, listen, the engineer came in. He's like, you're gonna have to rebuild half the fucking building for this thing to hang that way. You know what I mean? I'm like, so what do you suggest? So he suggested the pedestal that you saw. I said, okay, well, at least make it look like it crashed through a wall. And lo and behold is what you have.
We'll have to cut a video in right there so people
Yeah.
So you guys can see.
But
That's the craziest thing. When we walked in, it's like, bang.
you
it's
heard
just
me or
right there.
Yeah.
wow, and you're like, wow.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I heard. I was
there
sitting
you
in my
are.
office.
Yeah,
I heard
you
you guys
said-
coming. Go, holy shit!
Yeah, that's one of the coolest things.
Would you go
ahead.
ahead? I was just gonna say, would you ever exit from what you're doing right now
Yeah,
too?
absolutely. In fact, I'm working towards it. There was a window in the height of the market where I had an opportunity to exit, but I felt that consciously understanding that the value of the company is going to go down once all the dust settles after going crazy and the market corrects. Because just like anything else, if you look at buying and selling companies versus buying and selling watches, the concept is the same. In the heat of the market 2 years ago, when a Daytona was $60,000, companies were also getting evaluated at much higher values. The X value was much higher. The money was much cheaper, right? Today, I would probably get we had an evaluation. One of the companies that came in that said anywhere from 105 to 140 million for the company. Today, it probably translates to about 40 million based on current market conditions, right? My numbers didn't change much, right? Profitability didn't change much, but it's the evaluation. So basically, I'm going to ride to the next wave when the X values are right, when the money is cheaper and all those things. And it's probably when I'm going to make an exit. And at that point, my target is a little bit bigger.
And if you are, sitting on the beach, you're exited, you got that money.
No, I'd go crazy.
I was going to say, like,
No. So
go ahead.
I think I would stay within the same industry.
Okay.
Meaning that but it would just be minimized to a point where I'm out there going out specifically after pieces that are so rare, that are so unique, that are so special, and basically continue to educate the world, specifically that world. Those videos will get less views, I believe, than some of the videos we do now, but cater to a specific clientele that I've built over the years on something that's super special, most likely very expensive things. I would probably take an X amount of money and park it into just really special pieces that nobody in the world has. I have a few here as well, but because I do that now, but that would be the only thing I would do. And last but not least, I would do what a gentleman once did almost 2 years ago when he came to my house and said, listen, all this computer shit, Roman, I'm in the watch industry. I'm a gray market dealer. How about I give you some stuff and you throw it up on eBay, see if you can make some extra money. And the rest was history. So now I would probably do the same thing with somebody young. Plus, I also have my son and 2 more daughters that I would love to invest into.
Does your son want to stay the shoe stuff, or would he transfer to?
So
watches?
my son is very. He's not me. He's a combination of me and my wife. My wife is very conservative, and I'm in the clouds. Right. My glass is not half full; it's overflowing at a consistent time. I dream very, very big, and my son is sort of like in the middle, and he's very methodical, mind you. He's been on his own since he was 14 years old. Right. Outside of paying for college, I don't think we've ever paid for anything for my son since he was like 15. And he understands the value of building a product versus a business. He's also very good at listening and asking for the right advice based on some of the mistakes I've made in the last 20 years, and I made plenty, right? And he understands the value of a brand, which is why I'm wearing this. He's very familiar with the history of companies like Kith from Ronnie Fig, right? Or Undefeated, Eric Fang. Oddly enough, I know both of those people, and he has access to them, and he's able to speak with them. So he understands what it's like to put a business forth. He's also very patient, a lot more patient than I am. He understands what it's going to take to get there. So now he's opened up his 3rd store. When he gets to 12, 15, 20 stores, that's when his brand hype is going to be much bigger. And he understands the importance of building up a brand rather than just making a profit. He also understands the value of reinvesting into the business. And the best part about it is we'll raise our children to talk to us and to come to us at any given time for any type of advice. He talks to me about business usually. He talks to his mom about girls usually. It's a good combination, right? You can have a separation of state when it comes to stuff like that, right? And the more sensitive stuff is mom. Business stuff is usually me. And the best part about it is he'll always listen. He'll always take my advice. He won't always necessarily do what I advise him to do. And what he doesn't realize is that every time he asks me for advice and I give it to him, I actually get advice back because I get a take of somebody who is younger, different generation, different outlook on business and life that actually can advise me something that I don't have because I'm no longer 20 years old.
Do you think too, and you could speak for your son and yourself, are you born an entrepreneur or is it learned?
It's so tough to say. I think it can be learned, but you are definitely born. There's some people out there, I loved engineering. I love computer science. I love solving, the reason I went into computer programming is because it gave me an opportunity to solve an infinite number of problems in infinite number of ways. That's what programming is, right? Of course, now you have AI doing it. For me, it was just writing shit in a notepad, like actual code. Kids nowadays are like, they click a button, here you go.
Yeah, I don't do anything.
Right? So so yes, would I have been happy as an engineer? Yes. I'm also very handy. I like to build shit. Like I can literally build a house if I wanted to. But entrepreneurship is something that I partly learned, but I also partly feel like I was also born to do it, but more from the sales perspective. Entrepreneurship has many facets to it, right? There's so many pieces to it. There's a lot of pieces in this industry that I'm lacking, which is why I have staff that does it, right? Finance is one of them. It's not my strong suit, but I was forced to learn it. So certain aspects of being an entrepreneur need to be learned. Certain you're born with.
What if I put it in my Instagram bio? Does that make me an entrepreneur?
A what?
No, I'm kidding. I'm saying if I put entrepreneur in my Instagram bio, does that make me one?
Listen,
you see those.
50% of it is actually believing, right? So.
Oh man, but I'm on the side of you're born with it for sure, because I've always just been super ambitious myself, and I don't know if that's the right word, but I feel like everything I've just never wanted to work for someone. So
I noticed that it's a harsh reality nowadays, almost like a split where you have those that just from the get-go believe they're going to be somebody, be successful in whatever it is that they do without working for anybody else but themselves. And then you have the other half that almost feels like settles and goes and gets that degree and then ends up working at Starbucks. That's the split that I'm seeing right now.
Right?
What's that?
There's a lot of fear with those individuals.
Yeah, and it all stems from fear. It stems from, when I learned that in the military, I literally saw it with my eyes and realized what it's like to be under a wing versus being out on your own. Because I went into the military from where? From my house, where I was under the wing of my parents, right? I had a roof over my head, I had 3 meals a day, spending money if I needed it. I mean, granted, I've been working since I was 13, but still, right? Then I went into the military. Well, the military makes it a very comfortable place to be. You get a roof over your head. You get free 3 meals a day. You get free travel. You get free uniforms, clothes, right? So you literally get clothes on your back, 3 meals a day, and a roof over your head, right? And they make it extremely comfortable to re-up. They'll give you bonuses, right? And they'll pay you for it.
If you have a kid, right, you get something extra.
Yeah, exactly. You have a family, it's more comfortable. If you're single, you're living in the barracks. The minute you get married, you live outside of barracks. They give you a small condo. You have a child, you have a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom condo, and 3-bedroom, then a bigger house, depending on your rank, and so on and so forth. So, and they offered me to re-up as well when I finished my first 3 years. And I thought about it because they make it very convincing. And I said, well, I would only be under somebody's wing. I've yet to come out from under anybody's wing. First time I felt like I somewhat did it is when I went into corporate. But even then, that wing became the company that I work for, and my talents are going towards making someone else more money. So why not do it for me? But it's easier said than done. But now I was working my last stunt at Deutsche Bank, made a big name for myself, went pretty far, pretty fast, right? And here I am, a 25-year-old kid making 6 figures, but I'm commuting to New York 2 hours each way. 4 hours a day was my commute just to get to work. I also had a very demanding job that sometimes made me work through hours of the night. I ran a team out of Singapore that were 12 hours apart. I didn't sleep much. Then I got married, had a kid, and now put yourself in my shoes. Say, well, fuck this. I don't want to work for the man. I want to work for myself. Well, you know what? I still got to pay for diapers and mortgages and shit like that, right? So I did this job for 3 years while holding my other corporate job until this job brought me enough income to cover 1.5x what I was bringing from the bank. And only then I said, okay, I can do it because my kid won't go hungry.
How'd you meet your wife?
So because we're Russians that came over from former Soviet Union, it's a pretty tight-knit community. Like they came over here. There were 2 waves of migration, late 70s.
No Tinder back then.
What's that?
No Tinder back then.
Yeah, no Tinder back then. No swiping, no emails. So there were 2 waves of migrants from the former Soviet Union, late 70s and late 80s. We were part of the late 80s migration. And, not speaking the fucking language, you tend to stick with those and you tend to live in the same neighborhoods, have same Russian stores, and so on and so forth. There are plenty of neighborhoods in California that are very Russian. Mm-hmm. You have Russian stores and Russian daycares and all kinds of stuff, much like you have Indian stores.
We're Armenians,
yeah.
so.
Okay,
Glendale.
so you should. Well, there's more Armenians in L.A. than there are in Armenia, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Is that actually true?
That is actually true.
I think so.
Yeah, that is actually true.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you know what that's like, part of your own clique. Wow. You know what I mean? You have your own people, you have your own businesses, you have your own hookups, you have your own everything. Oh, you need a contractor? You're going to get a Russian contractor or Armenian contractor. So you know what that's about, especially your parents' generation, right? Which is what I am looking at you fucking too. But with that said, and you tend to formulate cliques. You go to the same schools and you get to know people. So I knew my wife we were very close friends for about 10 years before she decided it was time for me to get married. And that was it. And
wow. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Where is she? I don't know, but I got the watch. Like, just DM me. I'm ready.
Let me ask you a question. Your parents, they want you to meet an Armenian girl.
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course.
They do.
They want to keep it in.
There's my boy Jason who's sitting, also from LA, also Armenian. He met a nice girl and so on and so forth. And I was sitting there, we're talking. I'm like, tell me about this girl. Tell me about her background. It's like, bro, why are you asking me this? I just want to know what your mother's going to have to say about it.
Do you
right?
say that to your son?
No.
Okay.
No. The only thing that we're adamant about is to marry within the same religion.
Yeah.
But I don't care if it brings home somebody who's purple, black, yellow, Armenian. It doesn't matter to me. I raise my kids to believe that all people are good people. And if you're an asshole, I don't care if you're white, black, or Armenian. You're an asshole. That doesn't make a difference to me, right? Like the color of your skin or where you come from make no difference to me, right? And I think it's important. I think especially where the fuck you guys are from, that shit's on steroids. Your political environment over there, I would offend everybody, literally everybody in California. But you're from Orange County, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a little
nice.
bit.
Orange County is different.
It's nice. Yeah, it's Orange County's nice.
It's not LA.
No.
I wanna maybe end it on this. I don't know if you have anything else, but I wanna ask you, like, if you were a kid, maybe, you know, my age or 21, 18, whatever, what would you kind of knowing what I guess not knowing what you know now, but what would you start as a business and do in this day and age? What do you think? Where do you think there's opportunity?
It's not so much as to where there's opportunity. It's more so that if you decide to go a business route, a work for yourself route, right? Working for yourself doesn't necessarily mean you have to be an entrepreneur. You can also be an educator. You can do many things, right? I know extremely successful personal trainers, right? I know extremely successful makeup artists, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be, I'm going to go the entrepreneurship route. I will tell you this, that in today's day and age, everything is so much more accessible. It's so much easier. You have 100 times the tools that I had when I was starting my business. Everything and anything that you want to do today is so much easier to do. You just have to decide, I'm going to work for myself. And that doesn't, again, it can be a craft, it can be a trade, it can be buying and selling things, it can be technology, it can be service-based business. It can be something new that you can come up with. But what I will tell you is that doing that today is 1,000 times easier than it was when I started my own business because, as I said, what's an average megapixel today in a digital camera, right, on your phone? I don't know, what is it, 500 megapixels, whatever it is? I started using a camera that was 4 megapixels, and that was like the latest fucking technology, right? I use dial-up.
I mean, we don't even need these anymore.
Exactly.
The phones are crazy.
Phones are great.
Yeah.
I used to use dial-up. You know how long it takes to load up a
I
porn
don't know
page
what
on
a
fucking
dial-up
AOL?
is.
You don't. And so there were limitations. Today, sky's the limit. You have AI. You just have to dream
I actually
big.
have an AI girlfriund.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
She cute?
She's pretty, yeah.
She Armenian?
Such a weirdo.
No.
What's your mom going to say about that? You got to dream big and take small steps to get there. And people always ask me, what does that mean, Roman? You always say that. I said that, you know what? You have to believe that you're going to be great. The sky is the limit. But you also have to be realistic and realize you have to do something about it. You have to plan ahead, take those small steps, and small steps add up to big things. And that's generates growth.
Well, what do you think about the people who say follow your passion too?
I think it's important. But a lot of times I find people that say, follow my passion, and I won't settle for anything else, and I don't feel passionate about it. I find them to be dreamers sitting in their mom's basement playing fucking video games. That's what I find most of those people to do. You know what? Let me tell you something. People ask me, are you really passionate about watches? Yeah, I love watches. But I tell you, I got more passionate about, the more money I made, the more passionate I got about them. Because at the end of the day, it's not the money for me. It's the lifestyle that it provides. It's the fact that I can send my kids to a private school. It's the fact that I can live in a much better neighborhood to where I grew up, and my kids can do the same. It's about the fact that I can drive a more comfortable car and go on vacations and see places and learn about things. Freedom. Good alcohol. Expensive wine is fucking great. Let me tell you something. It's not fucking Mad Dog 2020. And I drank that before. So believe me when I tell you, it's good to have money, right? As long as you don't let it go to your head and you stay yourself and still try to stay modest, which is the hardest thing to do for somebody that comes from nothing.
What's the best cheesesteak in Philly?
Steve's.
Okay.
Steve's.
We just had, this is our first time here. We had Jim's.
Jim's is good.
It was good.
Top
but,
5.
You know, I had the Philly squirts. I'm not going to lie. Right?
So Jim's, Geno's, Pat's obviously are your iconic ones, but Steve's Prince of Steak is also top 5. Those are going to be the top 4.
Okay, we might have to try those.
I'm going
Thank you,
to
dude.
ask you guys a question.
Yeah,
all right?
ask me.
And see if you can answer.
Okay.
This is a question I ask people that I hire. You go first. What's the first thing you need to have $1 million? To get $1 million? Get to $1 million, whatever you want to call it. What's the first thing you need for $1 million?
Hard work.
Is that your final answer? What do you think?
Knowledge.
No.
Is it an item? Like
$1.
$1.
And that goes back to what I said: dream big, but take small steps to get it. You're not going to have $1 million until you have your first dollar. And a lot of people ask you, what's the most important thing when it comes to business, money management, and money? Money does make money. You can't have $1 million without having the first dollar. And that $1 is that small step that I tell people about. Take small steps there to get there.
How many
$1 at a
people
time.
like fail that question when you hire them?
So far, when I hired people, I've had, out of probably 30 interviews, I've had 2 answer it that way.
Dang. 2 answer it like us?
No, like me.
Oh, okay.
Everybody
I was
else
like,
said knowledge,
dang.
hustle, hard work.
Yeah.
You know, my mama's bank account. Like there was many questions, answers,
my
but
mom's bank account.
the reason I asked you that question at the very end of this interview is because it goes back to the main point that I made: is yes, you dream big, but you got to take small steps to get there. It doesn't happen overnight. Unless you buy, AMC was hot again, AMC stock or GameStop again, they're going at
Let's
it.
run up some crypto. Hey.
No.
There you go. Well,
Thank
unless
you.
you bought Bitcoin in 2007.
Thank you so
This is
much, dude.
amazing.
No problem,
for
boys.
having,
It was a pleasure.
having us in your facility.
It's a beautiful.
We appreciate it. But
Subscribe.
Thank you guys for watching.
Subscribe.
We'll see you guys next Monday.
The only thing is this is not a basement.
No,
Yes,
next
we
time.
made it out.
We're on
We
the
made it
second
out.
floor.
Thank you.
Alrighty. See ya.
Oh, dude, that was awesome.
Right now, my videographers, they have split personalities, so they literally take everything apart once a week and then put it back together, so it's a mess. Right now, it used to be a conference room that had this huge, very important looking table, so when people came in, I felt very important to have this executive conference room, and then I realized I don't fucking need it, so they made it into separate studio spaces, podcasting, green screen, product photography, watchmaking, so like, right now it's just a collective mess, but we can probably create pretty badass pornography.
Oh yeah.
If this whole watch thing fails.
Can't call me in though, you know, it's not gonna work.
Get too many views.
Check it.
From LA.
Hey!
Yeah,
Hello, where are we?
I don't speak English.
He doesn't speak any English, don't worry about it.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, man.
My office.
I grew up over there.
Nice.
So, remember those?
Yeah, you gotta film those guys.
So wait, are you like, you must be second generation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude,
My first generation. Literally, park your car and just start walking around and be like, bro, what?
We've never been to New York.
Never?
No.
My office. Yes, it's a what I call it, a sensory overload. And occasionally I have an Armenian sitting here. But so I'm a collectibles junkie. As you can tell, there's not enough space. Yes.
What did you
Okay, give me 1 second. So there's it just spills out to everything. Wow. Like that. What's cool about that is that's a vintage pamphlet from a retail store that used to sell Cartier, signed by Muhammad Ali. So I had it made into like this collage thing because he used to wear Cartier. And obviously, I'm an Eagles fan. I don't know if you guys noticed that. I also like a lot of art, which is why you see a lot of art now. And I frequent Art Basel a lot, so there's always stuff hanging somewhere. But the way we do it is accounting, customer service. There's Adrian. And they're friends with a bunch of UFC people, so like golf and UFC is your favorite thing. The kids from Basement Talk, they're a podcast, they're also a marketing company, so we call them the Pit. So this is the sales pit. So you have video, social media, graphic design, and then sales all next to each other. Wow. And this is what it looks like on a regular. They'll bring stuff up here, work on it.
There's the Sprite right there, right?
So what we'll do is they'll bring merchandise up as they're working on it, and let's get enough for that cash account.
Yeah, there's some granola in there too.
Good shit. Oh, it's called the Junior. So
Another little studio.
product photography.
Oh, wow.
They're separated because they need their space to basically do what they do. They actually keep track of records. That's how many pieces of jewelry they can photograph in a day.
Oh, wow.
But I'm talking about professional photography, not just, I mean, I can photograph 100 pieces with my phone, but
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of process to what we do. So it may look like a mess, but it's really not. Everything is done. I'm a big believer in SOPs, right? Standard operating procedures. It's a military term. So, you know, even for photography, you know, our photographs would all look the same way when it comes to a certain type of watch because of certain things were set in place that works best. Like I said, we like art, so I have art training
I was
everywhere.
looking at that. It's crazy.
And then this is the other side of the car, which you saw. That's the tribute to Eric.
Wow.
And the funny story is, the guy that did this, I posted it on I found out who painted the car. I posted the car, I tagged them. I get a DM from him, but bro, I've been watching YouTube for like 3 years. I'm a big fan. I'm like, small fucking world, right? You couldn't call me earlier so I could buy it cheaper, right?
Yeah.
But
Tires a little used too.
a little.
This is insane.
And then, wow, that's also him, by the way. The baby. You got 1 second.
This is crazy, dude.
I hope you guys are enjoying this video. This is nuts. I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
So here, we usually clients will come in. We'll either sit here or we'll go in here. As always. By the way, all the pictures you see around the office is all ours. So all these pictures.
So that's like in the product photography room, you guys took those.
Exactly. Police related, military related stuff. And this
Look
is
at that, Kobe's talking here.
What? Shevchenko?
That's awesome.
And then there's also, this is part of the I Love Me wall. Just they sometimes frame shit. They haven't hung it up, I guess, yet. But this is near and dear to my heart because this is, remember BLM? And when, what's his name? They killed, yeah.
George Floyd?
Thank you. When George Floyd got killed and started a lot of nonsense around the country, everybody was getting anti-police. I made a YouTube video, which was not very popular at the moment, that said, what the fuck is wrong with you people? You know, you deeming all police to be bad, you forgot your little NYPD hats. I was in New York on 9/11 when the towers fell. Our office was World Trade Center 4. So I remember that day very clearly, as you can imagine. And I spoke to the defense of the police, saying that these are the guys that leave their house every single morning, kiss their kids goodbye, not knowing they're gonna come back to protect your asses. And of course I caught a lot of heat, but at the same token I caught a lot of praise. Then the response became overwhelming and people just literally started sending me coins, badges, patches, all kinds of stuff. The coolest thing in here, besides sheriff's badges and stuff like that, is that. So that is an NYPD beat cops badge, a regular policeman's badge. It was given to me by this guy who is now retired 2-star general of the New York Police Force, New York State Police Force. He retired as 2-star general. He started as a beat cop, and he was one of 5 people that went into the South Tower on 9/11 to save people when the tower fell. On top of him and his buddies, he was the only one that survived, and that was the badge that he was wearing when that happened.
Oh, I love that.
And he gave it to me. And again, I'm not saying who's wrong and who's right, but don't label everybody else in the space based on the actions of one individual. That's what went up that way. Let's keep going.
There's more.
Oh wait, there's more. So when Audemars Piguet did the Black Panther watch, they also made a statue. Not for me, it was made for somebody else, but I got it. It was actually given to me as a gift from a client. And it's really, the eyes are just super freaking realistic.
That's what I was just looking at.
Very realistic.
Those
And
eyes.
at night, see these? They all light up under the black lights. Like when it gets dark in here. If you come here at night, it kind of gets scared. And this is where logistics are, shipping, receiving, bank vault, etc. So we keep, there's rhyme or reason to everything that we keep. Natalie's in charge. We do regular inventory. If you notice like the tags behind you, these are the tags that we print out. They're actually all color coordinated by the shelf that are inside the vault, so I know
How
where.
much would you say is even right there right now?
Today, probably 30 million bucks,
Wow.
plus minus.
That's 30 million, you know?
Yeah.
Correspondingly. Kobe's distracted there, really, no?
So correspondingly, these are actually extra boxes. These are not the boxes that belong to the watches. She hides the boxes that belong.
AP Humidor.
Yeah. So over the years, you tend to collect some extra stuff. She hides the boxes that belong to the watches in the safe because salespeople sometimes will come in and like steal a box because they're in front of the watch, and she's not having that. So you're not getting a box of papers for a watch unless you go through her.
Collected.
Yeah.
Yes.
You should. Well, you have time.
Everything is also done on the camera. So from the time he takes that from there, puts it in here, it's still on camera. So right now what he's doing is also still on camera, right?
Yeah.
And when this thing gets wheeled out of here, it's still on camera until it makes it out back into the FedEx truck while it's still on.
no
I can give you a
hiccups.
video from here all the way out to the FedEx truck.
Man.
A lot of people say I look like Tsar Nikolai.
Tsar Nikolai.
You be the judge. Do I look like Tsar Nikolai?
Oh, whoa, that.
They Photoshop my head.
Okay, I was about to say. I was like, wait, that's you, dude.
But if you Google the picture of Tsar Nikolai, I actually do look like him for some. This is all cute and all, but like I said, getting into this building, this is every window. The building is concrete. It's steel reinforced. The man trap that you guys walked into, it's bulletproof and it's actually grenade proof.
No, that.
Damn.
And then you see those beautiful pillars When you walk through the brick ones.
Yeah,
they're really
cars.
nice.
For
It's
cars? Yeah.
You can't ram through. They look pretty, but inside there's a metal pole with reinforced concrete that goes 6 feet on the ground. So if you had a big ass truck that you try to run into,
Oh, tell them we're not doing it.
you wouldn't be able to do it.
So those goes.
So they're dug into the ground too, so that nobody can ram in. And this is all bulletproof.
Wow.
So
I got a question, Roman.
yeah,
What's the first watch you ever sold?
it was an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak City of Sales, limited edition of 1,000 pieces, chronograph on a rubber strap, $9,250 on eBay to a gentleman in Germany for a bank wire.
All right. Did you guys get that? No.
You can go on my eBay and look at the very first feedback if you have time to scroll 5,000 pages to my very first feedback. You'll see it there. So yeah,
This is crazy.
and then back to my sensory overload office. I like a lot of food, usually shit.
What you got on your wrist right there?
Here once, or I was talking about the HYT.
Are those real cameras?
Yeah, there's spy cameras actually. Some
Different.
Russian, some
You seen this?
some Japanese.
No?
Well, you know, camera's pretty crude, right? As long as you get the right film,
It's,
they'll work. They'll still work. This was
Wow.
So you have the hours that are being pumped through a tube with liquid inside indicating the time. And then you have this disc on the outside that's indicating the minutes. And then you have a central tourbillon in the middle.
Yeah, geek talk over there.
That's the first watch in the world. These are the two pumps that are pumping the liquid through the sapphire crystal tubes.
Wow. Crazy looking.
That's insane.
That's just the basic rundown of it. But yeah, first watch in the world to have
You know what it
liquid
was?
timekeeping. You know, I don't want to say it like this, but I'm saying it like this. It's like RM before RM. Like when people didn't care about Richard Mille. It's like same thing, crazy stuff. No one's really, it's like if you know type of watch brand, but it could be at that level where it could be recognized as some of the greats because of technology, but it just doesn't have the, call it marketing recognition yet. But slowly but surely.
Crazy. This is insane.
Try it on,
I've
it's
never had
different.
that one,
But it's fucking disgusting. But I bought it because it's like that for a while.
yeah, as you can tell, Kobe drinks seltzers. You know, he's a little zesty.
But so I'm like, yeah. So these kids know that I'm like,
This is crazy. What do you guys
I'm
think?
getting like one pallet is like I'm limited to like 1 6-pack a person because they all want it. So why don't you just charge double for it?
All right, bro,
I can if
I mean, you owe me a lot more, but you know, we'll get 345,000 there.
Jesus.
Yeah, we're talking to
Dang.
him right now, so we're trying to get him on, which is cool. But yeah,
Again, there's nothing like this in the world. It's a central tourbillon with liquid timekeeping. I mean, there are central tourbillons, but not with this technology in it. I mean, it's just different. Roman knows. I mean, he's
So that's a $365,000 watch. Would you rather have that? Or, would you rather have that or this?
this.
What would you rather have?
This,
That?
this.
What's-
how much is this?
Well, it's a Nautilus 5990 market price around 120,000.
I'll take that one.
You sure?
You taking what?
Which one you take?
Whatever is more expensive.
You taking Nautilus? What are you taking?
I'm a plain Jane
But
kind
that's
of
not how you
guy.
have to look at it. You're supposed to look at it from style, you
No,
know?
it's not about style. It's also about high horology. This is a 3D tourbillon.
That's giving me like a Ben 10 vibe. You know what?
Oh,
Ben 10, yeah, that is the Ben 10 watch.
What's Ben 10? Wait, is this one going to space?